This is the regular meeting of October 10th. And roll call would be myself, Larry, Shelby, Chris, Karen, Alice, Sarah, and Daryl. Nice. Okay. So this is a web-based meeting. This session is being audio recorded just like every other P&Z meeting. Be advised that today we are also recording the video as well. Commissioners and staff will generally remain on mute except when speaking or voting, and will keep video on of themselves throughout the meeting. During public hearings, all normal rules, including stating and spelling your name, apply. Please use the chat feature and raise your hand to speak, and you will be recognized. All right. Reading of minutes of September 12th. That was our nice short meeting. I didn't see anything on the 12th. Anyone else? Someone like to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of September 12th.
Thank you, Daryl.
Second.
Larry, thank you. All right, any further discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your hand. Okay, so we can record those. Is there anyone in the audience that has a public communication that's not on the agenda? All right, hearing none, why don't we move on to old business? There is no old business. So that leaves new business, which is the heart of the matter here. All right. Application 6A1, Aaron Rios, I believe, 53 Flat Rock Road, map block 40, lot 5, conversion of existing barn to AUD, accessory dwelling unit, and associated site work within the horizon line. So let me read the public notice in the record. The Town of Kent Planning and Zoning Commission shall hold a public hearing via Zoom meeting on Thursday, October 10th, 2024, beginning at 7 o'clock to discuss and possibly act on application 20-24 SP 21-24C Argos 53 Flat Rock Road, map 11, block 40, lot 5, conversion of existing barn to accessory dwelling and associated site work within the horizon line. Any corresponding documentation shall be attached to the agenda, and which can be found on the town's website. At this meeting, persons may participate and be heard. The Zoom meeting number can be located at the official agenda, and shall be filed on the Town of Kent's website a minimum of 48 hours prior to the official Zoom meeting. Signed, Wesley Warrick, Chairman. All right. So Howland is presenting this.
Yes. Good evening. This is Jim McTighe from Arthur Howland Associates.
Yes, how are you?
I'm good.
Excellent.
I'm a professional land surveyor with Arthur Howland Associates, representing the owners of the property, Aaron Agrios, of 53 Flat Rock Road South, for the special permit application for an accessory dwelling unit and the residential zoning application. If I can share my screen with you, I can bring up some plans that we can go over. I don't know if you need to give me permission.
No, you can go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so before you is the zoning location survey for the guest house. It is an existing structure.
I don't think your share is coming.
Not there yet, Jim.
Do I share? Here we go. Share screen. Start broadcast. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so before you is the zoning location survey for the guest house. The property is 29.15 acres. It is an existing barn that is being converted into a 3-bedroom guest house. You can see the main house over here on the left-hand side. The barn is 121.3 feet back from Flat Rock Road. It's 246.7 feet to the east property line, 420.6 feet to the west property line, and over 1,500 feet to the north. No trees are being cutting down, minimal site disturbance regarding the landscaping around the proposed building. Let's see here. This is the health department plan. And so what we have here, and this has been approved. For the main house, we have a septic tank and dry well up by the main house, just to the right of it there at the bottom of the page. And we've designed a 100% replacement system to the left of the pool. For the guest house, we have a new septic system in the rear of the property that is going to be constructed under construction for 3 bedrooms. For the architectural plans, let me see if I got the right one here. Excuse me, I got to go to a different location. Architectural plans, here we go. Okay, here are the architectural plans. This is a site plan that the architect put together. This is a layout showing the building. They're putting a pergola on it and the patio around the pool. It's a big garden area to the north of it there. Here's the floor plan for it. And you can see it's an open floor plan. Living room, kitchen on the left, 2 bedrooms on the bottom right, hallway with bathroom, and then a master suite up at the top for a total of 3 bedrooms. This next plan, this is just the roof layout, a simple L-shaped plan with a gable roof. And then here are the views. So that the current building is existing. The roof exists. We're not taking the roof off. We're just installing this 3-bedroom accessory dwelling unit inside the existing building. So the height of the barn will not change. We're adding the windows, pouring the floor. So this is the north elevation here. This is the south elevation. This is the east elevation, and this is the west elevation looking towards the pool. So the whole thing is existing. As you can see here, the height, the concrete floor, the way the architect's dealing this is the floor is at 0, the ridge is 15 feet 11 inches. So this whole building is less than the bottom of the ridge. So this building is less than 17 feet. It's existing. Like I said, the roof is not changing. Here's just some cross sections through the building and some additional cross sections.
But you are restructuring the building.
Yes, we're going to reuse as much as we can of what's there. And we're basically retrofitting the barn into this structure.
Can you explain just some of the lighting plans for us, and also just to confirm that with the new septic going in, that no trees or foliage are coming down with the line?
No, there's no tree removal for the septic. And all the lighting that's proposed will comply with the historic overlay for the view line. Shielded bulbs pointing down.
Jim, the only thing new is a pergola that's being added, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And of course, new windows.
And new windows, yes.
Currently, are there? I didn't see an existing plan. Or do they have fenestration at all on the?
No, the existing building is very simple. I have a couple of photos of it I could show you if you'd like.
That's fine. I mean, in terms of horizon line, of course, it's not really.
The views will not change in regards to the Verizon line because the building already exists.
Right.
You know, the pergola is being added, but no one will really see that from a distance.
Are the windows non-reflective?
I don't know the answer to that.
And the new windows are going in on the northeast side and also on the.
All
west-
sides.
Oh,
All
Okay.
sides have windows.
I guess that's a consideration with sunlight and picking that up as to how reflective that might be in the horizon line, but.
Well, I would assume that they're just standard insulated glass windows.
Yeah, the
no-
building does need to
film on it.
comply with the energy conformance.
Yeah, yeah. But we could certainly stipulate that, sir.
Yeah, it's not a sticking point with me necessarily. It's just a question to consider.
Okay. You know, and then you could we go back to the site plan. You know, so you can see here. You know, it's a low building. It's back a good distance from the road. The proposal complies with your special permit requirements for an ADU as a residential use in a residential zone. And the zone allows for, with a special permit, a second accessory dwelling unit.
Can you describe for us the purpose of the ADU
It's a guest house.
and for family guests and friends, not to be
Yes,
corrected?
for family guests and friends.
But it does become technically a two-family property.
Yes, which is allowed in this zone with this approval of a special permit.
Right, understood.
Yeah, and we have one well, and that one well will serve both structures.
And the metering, is it separately metered?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Separately metered with power?
No, there'd be 1 meter.
Okay, all right.
Is there a new curb cut?
No, we're using the same existing driveway.
Thank you.
It's a gravel driveway that already exists.
Chris, you're quite familiar with the property, you said. Is it fairly low impact from Flat Rock Road?
You know, the little barn and the building have been there for many, many years. I mean, the barn itself, the view from the road hasn't changed any, not that I can see.
Yeah.
They may have taken down some trees earlier, but I think they may have been just like little scrub trees. I don't think it was anything, there weren't any massive trees that were taken down. I see that there's a lot of site work going on now. You know, when we drive by, we can see stuff going on, so.
Is that the septic?
It's the pool, there's been some work on the septic, and the pool is fairly new construction as well too.
Do you have a permit for a pool?
Yes. The pool is existing and was previously constructed, and while the pool is finished, the area around the pool is unfinished. And then, so the landscaping will be done once the guest house is done.
So just so you know, I played on this property when I was a kid. I don't remember there being a pool there, but you know, that could have changed. There was
No, the pool is brand new.
So just for clarification on the tree cutting, I did check in with Heather at Helen's office and asked that question. And she did note that she sent a plan through noting that one tree in the driveway would be cut. So I know Jim had said that there would be none, but I just want to, for the record, just clarify whether or not that tree will be cut.
Yes, if Heather indicated that, I was not aware of that. So yeah, one tree will be cut.
How big is that tree and what type of tree is it?
I don't know its location or its size. If I had to guess, it's probably this 15-inch maple right here. But I don't know. I can confirm that for you if you want to make that a condition.
If it's a 15-inch maple, that's not that size of it, you know, it's not that
Right.
big of a tree. I don't think that's gonna impact.
Right, it's obviously not clear cutting.
No, we are not clear cutting.
All right, so, I mean, as to the, accessory dwelling unit, it is permitted by our, zoning ordinance. And I don't really see an issue with that. You've got Torrington Area Health, approval. I mean, I don't think there's any obstacles there. It's really the horizon line and it's an existing structure. So except for the lighting, which is important, I don't really see any issues there. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this application? All right, so hearing none, and commissioners, this is a public hearing, so we would have to close it.
I did see at one point some lighting that was like post lights, like regular post lights. The lights were not shining down, they were just glass. And some pillar lights that were the same.
There is one light pole here along the edge of the driveway that's existing.
Can't seem to find pictures.
I saw them as well.
Ty, were there waivers on this? I suppose there were, weren't there?
I don't have them as part of the application, although I think that I think most of the requirements were fulfilled.
Fulfilled, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure with that we need a landscape plan. I mean, it is kind of a conditioning, existing landscape condition.
There is some landscaping I showed. I could show you on the back to this one. So this is the architect's plan for landscaping. And so you can see they're doing some walkways and patios up to the pool. And they're doing a little barbecue area over there to the north side of the building. And then this is a vegetable garden, a fenced-in vegetable garden. So you can see the new driveway here to the right of the building. And a walkway going around. So they're proposing some shrubs and some landscaping around the building as well too.
Right. So those trees that are delineated are new trees.
The ones next to the building are new. The three larger ones exist.
Exist, okay. Yeah.
So it looks like they're not taking down that 15-inch tree that I pointed out.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a very nice plan. It's well thought out.
All right, does anyone see why we couldn't close the public hearing on this? Do we hear that motion?
I move we close the public hearing on 53 Flat Rock Road.
I'll
Thanks.
second that, Wes.
Okay, thanks, Karen. All right, any further discussion? All in favor of closing public hearing? All right. So close that. Now we can discuss the merits of the approval. Again, being existing and low profile, concerning Horizon Line, I don't really see any issue. And of course, the ADU is allowed by zoning.
Plus, I can say that the property is just up the road from where I live, and a few years ago, the main house was in foreclosure. So I think it's good that the current owners are investing in it, and also to offer ADU for other use.
Right. All right. Any other comments? Are we prepared to move on?
The property really can't be seen from anywhere, Wes. You
Yeah.
know, in terms of other roads, it's difficult to turn your eyes on it. I don't think there's any reason not to approve it for the Ridgeline classification.
Right, right. All right, well, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the application?
I move we approve application 20-24 SP for 53 Flat Rock Road, map 11, block 40, lot 5. Conversion of existing barn to ADU.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Larry. All right, any further discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your hand. All right, Jim, thank you very much.
Thank you all for your time tonight.
Good luck.
Have a good night.
Thank you. All right, so moving on to a 6A2. This again is a public hearing. Let me read the notice into the record. The Town of Kent Planning and Zoning Commission shall hold a public hearing via Zoom meeting on Thursday, October the 10th, beginning at 7 p.m. to discuss and possibly act on application 22-24 MAP Kent Housing Development Association, LLC, and Landmark Lane, map 4, block 42, lot 1. I'm sorry, the amendment to extend a village housing district overlay. So this is really an application to extend the overlay district. Any corresponding documentation will be attached to the agenda, which can be found on the town's website. At this hearing, persons may participate and be heard. The Zoom meeting number can be located on the official agenda that will be filed on the Town of Kent website a minimum of 48 hours prior to official Zoom meeting. Signed, Wesley Warwick, Chairman. All right. Do we have someone who's presenting this application?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's me, Jim Milstein.
Thank you, Jim.
I am the managing member of Kent Housing Development Associates, LLC, which was an entity I formed to acquire the 11 acres that are just south of, it's an empty field just south of Town Hall.
Right.
I did this, I'm a long-time resident of Kent. We live on 80 Treasure Hill Road, not too far from the property that you just approved the application for an ADU. I bought this property, frankly, at the suggestion of Kent Affordable Housing, in part because the village in 2016, or it might have been 2017, there was a study done in 2016, created this incentive housing overlay district on 8.5 of the 11 acres that we now own. With the aim of incentivizing the building of affordable housing for Kent, which the town obviously is in serious need of, given inflation and all of the house prices post-pandemic. The folks at Kent Affordable Housing suggested to me that one of their problems in developing affordable housing in the town is that their ability to assemble financing from the various federal and state sources that affordable housing developers access is a very time-consuming process. It requires applications to the state for low-income housing tax credits and various other subsidies, which is a 1.5 to 2 year process. And during the period of time that their application for those subsidies is pending, land that might become available might be scooped up by private developers seeking to do something else other than meet the housing needs of the town. So we, at their suggestion, this field, which has been empty really since the founding of the town, and which the town, at least with respect to 8.5 of the 11 acres, designated as a prime site for the development of affordable housing, seemed like something that we should try to acquire for the purpose of meeting the town's needs. So we acquired both the 8.5 acres on which this overlay zone has been created, as well as another 2.5 acres right next door to Town Hall, which is part of this field. They had just been separately, they were separate lots. About, I think, a month and a half ago or 2 months ago, prior to, or maybe 3 months ago, prior to our acquisition of both lots, you merged the lots. So now they're one lot of 11 acres. 8.5 of those acres are the beneficiary of this overlay zone. The other 2.5 are not. So this application in the first instance is seeking to extend that overlay zone to the entirety of the 11 acres. In addition, those of you who have gone downtown know that there is a building adjacent or contiguous to these 11 acres that are part of the Kent Green complex, which has never been, it was built for a restaurant, which never opened. And it has since been unoccupied from the time it was built. Kent Housing Development Associates, the entity we formed to acquire the 11 acres, also has an option to buy that building and the 2-ish acres on which it sits. So we, in addition to asking you today to extend, that's not my dog for the record.
So Jim, that would be okay though.
Yes, I'm just afraid he might join in the chorus. But in addition to asking you to extend the overlay zone to the 2.5 acres that are now part of the same lot, I'm asking you, actually as the agent of the current owner, Kent Green LLC, as the agent of the owner of that building, I'm asking you to extend the overlay zone to that as well, so that we have, in trying to conceive of a development plan, for which we will have to come back to you for the special permit that the overlay zone requires. Even though you have created greater density in the overlay zone, permissible, the process by which you approve the use of that greater density is a special permit process. So we're going to have to come back to you in all events for the approval of the site plan and what we intend to build. So this is just giving us the option to use what would then be all 13 acres of contiguous land to create an integrated development consistent with the housing overlay zone. And so that's what we're here to ask you for tonight, is to extend the overlay zone to the 2.5 acres that are part now of this lot, this 11-acre lot, of which only 8.5 acres is the current beneficiary of that overlay zone. And then in addition, to ask you to extend that overlay zone to the Kent Green building and its 2 acres, on which I have an option. So that in conceiving a development plan for this, the entire 13 acres, we have a consistent zoning envelope to work with on all 13 acres.
So I do understand that. We couldn't do that tonight. It is a process to change our overlay zone. It will take public hearing and that type of thing. I don't recall when we did it, and I do recall when it happened. I was on the commission. Why the boundaries were set? I suppose it was at that time a reasonable setting of the boundaries. The concept doesn't change between the 8 and was it 4 that you're adding? There's 8 adding 4?
It's 2.5 to the 8.5, and then another 2 approximately on the Kent Green building.
Well, that certainly sounds logical to me. Again, it's the same location, same interests apply. I don't think when we were doing it that we were trying to limit it to acreage. I just don't recall why the certain meets and bounds of that.
I think I can help you on that.
Okay, great.
The 8.5 acres on which the overlay currently sits was a separate parcel.
Yes.
Right. So it was, it was a fallow land, agricultural land, but a separate parcel from the other 2.5 acres and from the Kent Green development. So I think it was obviously available, and you thought, well, let's see if we can't incentivize someone to do this.
Right.
But now we have merged, or you merged, not me. Prior to my acquisition, the owner of both parcels asked you to merge these 2 lot lines.
Right.
And so now we have one 11-acre parcel.
Right. So that's something that we could do.
Yes.
Without a zoning change.
But in that 11-acre parcel, 2.5 of that is still not in the incentive zone. Is that correct?
That's right. Those 2.5 acres, I think, are zone commercial. And this overlay zone, frankly, would give us the opportunity to build more single-family houses as opposed to what commercial zoning permits.
And then the other parcel, the 2-acre parcel, which houses the old Zeppa building, that would incentivize you to purchase if we changed over, and then create more of a incentivized housing area.
And to create if you think about this, if you're driving down Kent Green Boulevard past Town Hall, you're looking at, an empty building and a big field. And so the idea here is to create, and that big field sort of squares off, the the empty building squares off the whole property, so that if as you're driving down Kent Creek Boulevard past Town Hall, you know, this gives us the opportunity to create an integrated site that will have, I hope, you know, some visual appearance for people shopping at IGA and coming from the hardware store and past Town Hall, to create an integrated neighborhood
Sure.
feel. And that's the idea. Just give us the opportunity by extending the overlay zone to that property as well, so that we can create an integrated neighborhood, as opposed to having this empty building sitting in the corner of it.
Right, understood. Ty, what's the process of doing this?
So you're all set up. You're in the middle of a public hearing right now. We have let both COGs know about this, and they've submitted their referrals, which is in the public drive, both positive referrals. We've notified the neighboring town clerks. We've noticed it in the newspaper. Mr. Milstein put a public hearing sign in front of his property. All the requirements have been met. So right now, you know, you're in the middle of a public hearing to make this change, this map amendment. Gary Hock did the survey and the plan showing the old lot lines and the new overlay and where it's going to be extended. That's all in your file as well. So, you know, should you approve the map amendment, then, you know, we'll
Right.
notice.
I wasn't aware that all due notice has
Yeah,
been.
no, you're all set to make that decision tonight, should you feel ready to do that.
Maybe I can just say one more thing about sort of process-wise. We have, I've never been a developer before. This is my maiden voyage. You know, we've done house reconstructions, but I've never done anything on this scale. And I have been blessed, frankly, with a developer who does know what he's doing, a developer, which is an institutional developer. They don't do rural development such as this, but a number of their young partners and employees have been taken with the idea of, you know, bringing affordable housing to a rural town such as Kent, and they have sort of volunteered to assist me, not volunteered, but they're helping me to try to avoid mistakes. I have hired an architecture firm based in Providence, Rhode Island, that has done similar kinds of things up and down mostly in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, some in Connecticut. They came down and visited the site a couple of days ago. I hired them because as a resident of the town, I like their designs. I think it's something that, you know, as somebody who comes down into town and shops at IGA and, you know, eats at the restaurants and enjoys the downtown such as we have it, I think what they have built in the past, their precedents are very attractive and is something that I think that at least I, as a resident, could envision on these properties. But all that said, all you're doing by tonight in this application is giving me the opportunity to have an integrated zoning on this site, on these 13 acres. I'm going to have to come back to you with a site plan and building designs for a special permit to build whatever it is we might build. And I'm guessing there'll be lots of opportunity for other town residents as well as the commission to have great input on what we do here. Because it is, you know, a site that is will change the character of the downtown for sure. And we're all going to be very interested to make sure we think it's appropriate and fits with the fabric of the existing structures in town. I like these architects. I think they can meet that challenge. But we'll all see when they come back with a couple of different site plans and building designs for us to review. All I'm asking tonight is to give me the opportunity to use all 13 acres in building an integrated site plan.
All right, understood. So Ty, you see no obstacle of having that done?
No, I mean, all the requirements of the map change have been met. And the proposal is practical because it's actually the lot lines have been changed. So now the overlay will extend to the entire lot where it was fragmented by the lot line revision. So it makes sense.
And the concept is the same. It's the reason why we established that zone to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this? All right, hearing none, commissioners, any more input? Again, it's an extension of the same concept, and it certainly makes now practical sense.
I think it sounds exciting for the
Yeah.
town, and it's
Yeah.
something we need, and we have somebody local who is behind it, which I think is key to keeping the vibe of the town the way we like it. So yeah, great. Thanks, Jim.
Well, thank you.
This is also consistent with our mandate to provide more affordable housing too. And I think that this can be done in a way that's sustainable for the town, that will be attractive, and that will be supportive of the people who are here and who want to move here.
Absolutely. So Daryl, you were on the commission at that time. I think Alice might have been too. And I think Karen was as well. I mean, do you agree that same concept, just larger area? You're still on mute.
Yeah,
Alice.
okay. I totally agree after all that. I think it's just kind of an obvious that one piece just is kind of been holding up development in general. So I totally think it's a fantastic approach to affordable housing and to doing it within the context of what we think of as Kent. And so, yes, I'm very supportive.
Okay, great. Daryl, same?
Yeah, I think when we approved the lot line revision, we somewhat gave this thought already, and that was an indication that at that point we felt that this was a good path forward. And I like the fact that this is progressing incrementally. I feel very comfortable with the process. It's not being thrust upon us all at once. So I think this is just the protocol that we wanted for this area.
Terrific.
I would hope too that as part of this, we also see some plans with the Kent Green in that area to increase business and kind of traffic flow and the ways in which that can be revitalized too, in addition to this.
Maybe I can just address that. Obviously, if we bring another 80 to 100 families to
Exactly. Yeah.
Kent Green's going to have a lot more traffic, but equally important, there's an existing path that I think is grossly underused between Kent Green and Main Street.
Right.
And if the unused building that's part of Kent Green is part of this project, that path will suddenly become an important byway onto Main Street for the benefit of all the businesses there too. So, I mean, our vision is this is a, this, if we can get this developed, and, construction costs are crazy and financing is expensive. And so we got a lot of work left to do to try to put this together. But if we can actually get this developed, the life of downtown will certainly be augmented.
Well, I
Well,
should say that I met Jim at the last meeting of the Northwest Connecticut Affordable Housing and Conservation Collaboration meeting. And this is a very type of program that coalition is really supporting and urging, meeting the twin goals of conservation, but also affordable housing in a very important way.
Right.
Hey, actually, I'm glad you mentioned that, Shelby, because the current owner, previous owner of this 11 acres, also owns 10 acres behind Town Hall that go up the hill. And they are in part contiguous to a 22-acre property that Kent Land Trust owns. And as part of the contract of purchase, the seller agreed to give me an easement into that 10 acres. And I believe, I don't want to, commit him, but I believe he intends to conserve those 10 acres. So we could create right downtown public access to, conserve land with trails, accessible right behind Town Hall.
We have been contemplating and planning for this development ever since I remember, which is at least 25 or 30 years. Yeah.
Well, hopefully it won't take 25 or 30 years
Yeah.
to actually get it done.
Looks like it's going to happen pretty soon.
Yeah. All right. Again, is there anyone in the audience that would like to address this overlay zone? All right, we're hearing none. I would suggest we close the public hearing and then go into deliberation.
Okay.
Karen, was that a proposal? No. Sarah? Okay, thank you.
I move we close the public hearing on 6A2, the application for 22-24 MAP Kent Housing Development Associations for the amendment to extend the Village Housing Overlay District.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Darrell. All right, any further discussion? All in favor of closing the public hearing? Signify. Okay. All right, so I think we can deliberate this. Again, I've heard nothing but positive response. I think it's terrific. Ty, and we're free to act on this. Ty, is that correct?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Ty, can we just, if there's no further discussion, do we just go to motion to approve?
We sure can.
You sure can.
I motion that we approve 6A2 application 22-24 MAP Kent Housing Development Association's amendment to extend the Village Housing Overlay District.
Terrific. There, thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Darrell. All right, so we can discuss it or we can approve it by signifying to raise your hand to approve. All right. So that part of the puzzle is now complete, Jim.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your consideration and approval.
Great, thank you. All right, moving on to application 6A.3. Again, a public hearing. Let me read the notice into the record. Town of Kent Planning and Zoning Commission shall hold a public hearing via Zoom meeting on Thursday, October the 10th, 2024, beginning at 7 p.m. to discuss and possibly act on application 23-24 SUB, Roland Levesque Jr., 218 Bullsbridge Road, map 6, block 12, lot 21, for a 2-lot subdivision. Any corresponding documentation will be attached to the agenda and shall be found on the town's website. At this hearing, persons may participate and be heard. Zoom meeting number can be located on the official agenda and will be filed on the Town of Kent's website a minimum of 48 hours prior to the official Zoom meeting. Signed, Wesley Wire, Chairman. All right. So do we have a presenter? Roland, are you doing it?
Yes, I am, Wes. Thank you.
Good to see you.
You too. Oh, good evening, everybody. My name is Roland Levesque Jr., and I reside on 205 Bullsbridge Road, and we own a parcel of land across the street, 10.683 acres, that we're asking for a subdivision into 2 lots. One lot, there's an existing home in the lot right now, and that would be subdivided into a 2.105 acre piece. And lot 2, 8.578 acres for my sister. And that's basically the summary of it. It's again, it's about 10.6 acres, and we're looking to subdivide it into 2 lots. We received approval from the wetlands and from Torrington Health District, and now we're asking the Town of Kent Planning and Zoning for approval of the subdivision.
Right. So, Roland, the first cut was the original parcel from your family, that or was it?
Well, the 10.683 acres that was originally owned by my wife's parents, and we bought that from them.
I see. Okay. Right. So that was the first cut, which is your property inclusive of what you're trying to subdivide now.
Yeah, I would defer that to Gary. He would know better on the surveying portion of it. But even before that, the original house, which was originally about 3/4 of an acre, was my wife's grandparents' house. So it's been passed on through 3 generations now. So
right.
now we're looking to subdivide it for my sister.
All right. So to me, looks straightforward. Anyone in the audience would like to respond to this? All right. And commissioners?
I get Ty, this is just a question for you. Per 8-25 at the open space requirement, it says with no consideration is in relation to the sale of this. Can you just add some?
Yeah, so actually today, it was clarified that the transfer of the property to Roland's sister is for consideration. It is for a financial transaction, so that statute would not apply in this case. However, we did some research, and actually this parcel came from a larger 42-acre parcel, and I did add that to the public drive. I don't know if you've seen that map, but it actually in 1990, 6.39 acres was cut off and given to at the time, the Weontenaug Land Trust. So that 15% of open space from the original parcel was accommodated. So if you look under section 3, 8, C2, it does speak about the modification of open space reservation. And in this case, if the commission feels that, something like that satisfies the requirement, they could agree to waive any further requirement of open space.
But we'd have to waive that, right?
Well, it says it's a modification of open space. I mean, there's not an official waiver, but you would have to accept it as is and not require anything additional. It would be it's your judgment as far as what you want. Whereas the transfer to the sister or relative was by statute. So if it had been for no consideration, this wouldn't have been an issue whatsoever. So now it's really more of a discussion among the commissioners, whether you feel that 6 acres that went in 1990 was sufficient to fulfill, you know.
Why-
So we had,
Go ahead, Wes.
there was a similar application a year and a half ago that was quite similar to this.
Well, it was an LLC and we had that, and we weren't able to meet the requirements of that statute then either, because it was a family member, but the property was in an LLC. So they would have had to have broken the LLC in order to meet the requirements of the statute. So that's what happened in that scenario.
But the outcome was that we didn't require open space.
Well, I think they did fee in lieu of.
Does Wyandotte still own the 6 point whatever acres?
Yeah, now they're under a different name. They've transferred their name twice since. So, but yes, I included the deed and everything in that last submission that I uploaded just today, showing, you know, that transfer of property to what at the time was called the Ontonague Land Trust. And then it changed names a couple times, and each time it stayed with them and went to the new name.
And Ty, just to clarify, that's the document Open Space Mod, MOD.
Yeah. So, you know, volume 96, page 390 shows that 6.677 acres was transferred in 90. And then after that, you will see at the very end, you'll see that map that I'm talking about.
Are there any implications to this that we may be overlooking?
I think it's a discretionary thing. I mean, not that I know of. I don't think that there's
I think the overall feeling of the area is going to remain rural as it is right now. Roland, the barn is that on that's on your property, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's the nice red barn right at the
Yes.
Yeah.
That's gonna be part of the 2.105 acre lot with the house.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that I just wanted to say for the record that, you know, should be a requirement. You know, an accessory structure can't stand alone. So when that if you do agree to divide the property, there must be a principal structure built, or it could continue on as agricultural by itself. But other than that, that structure can't remain on that property by itself for any other use.
Right. Roland, it is a barn. It's not, there's no plumbing. It's not developed in any way, right?
No.
No.
It's just basically, yeah, it's just a barn. It's got electricity, but no water. I mean, no drainage or anything like that.
So Ty, are you implying that there would need to be a condition concerning that
Yeah, I mean, just, I think this is just being overcautious, but we just don't ever want to see the barn turn into like a storage thing for cars or something else, you know, it's like unless a principal structure is built, that is ultimately the proposal, and I'm sure is what's going to happen. But just to stay in conforming with the zoning regulations, you know, you can't have an accessory structure without a principal structure. Unless
so
it's
that
for
was my
agricultural purposes.
Yeah, that was my original question. So the barn is going with the subdivided piece. It's not on your piece.
Well, there's actually two barns, Wes. The red barn is going with the house. Then there's a white barn in the back
Oh,
that's part of the overall. So they're basically,
the barn I was thinking about, the one that you can see right on the road.
yeah, the red barn, that's staying with the house on the 2 acres. And there's a barn in the back also. That's basically used for horses and right now.
It's on the north side of Bulls Bridge, Wes.
Yep.
How old is the new barn that's going to go with the new parcel?
It's within a year, I'd say, Chris.
And the existing well was a farm well, is that correct?
Well, there was we drilled, a well was drilled for that barn this year, but it's basically just for,
Livestock.
it's got no plumbing house, it's got a frost-free hydrant. It's basically to water goats and for goats and horses.
Have all the requirements for Torrington area health been accomplished? I'm confused on that.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
we received approval from Kathy.
So there's really no more information that we would need to add prior to closing the public hearing.
All the requirements have been fulfilled.
And how about waivers?
This is a subdivision, it's not a
Subdivision.
site plan approval.
Right, exactly, right. All right. So again, no more, is there any public comment on this? All right, so hearing none, could I ask someone for a motion to close the public hearing?
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Daryl.
Second.
Thanks, Sarah. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your hand. Okay. So in deliberation on this, as Ty said, I think it's, except for the technicality of the fact that there would be an accessory use existing on this new lot. How would you suggest that we condition that? Yeah, I think you're right. I think we have to say something towards it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much, you know, the requirement is that the barn either be used for agricultural purposes or a principal dwelling must be built for use for its any other use, you know, something like that.
So Roland, you see no problem with it being used for agricultural? I mean, that's what it's used for, right?
Yeah, that's what the barn was erected for, was just for agricultural purposes.
Right.
Once a principal dwelling is built, if they want to change it to use it for storage or anything else, and that's absolutely, you know, that's up to them.
All right, somebody like to make a motion, including that condition? to approve? Somebody?
I make a motion to approve application 23-24 SUB Roland Levesque Jr., 218 Bowles Bridge Road, map 6, block 12, lot 21, comma, two lot subdivision, with the condition that the existing barn on the new parcel can only be used for agricultural purposes until a primary residence is constructed.
Perfect. Second?
I second it.
Thank you, Alice. All right, any further discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your hand. All right, motion approved. Okay, Roland, you're on.
Thank you, Les. Thank you, commission members. Have a good night.
Thank you. All right. So moving on to staff report. It's probably, Ty, do you have something?
No, I really don't have too much. I would just recommend that maybe everybody at their leisure take a look at the housing overlay report from, I think it was 2016. That's attached to the POCD. Kind of familiarize yourself with that and the regulation, because you know what's coming up. And
Yep. So do you think that Jim will be quick on this? Yep.
probably will be. Yeah, it seems
Okay.
to be well organized.
Good. Good. All right, so let's move on to report of officers and committees. As you all know, we have set up a cannabis regulation subcommittee, and we had a special meeting on the 3rd of October. And basically, we moved to put it forward to the overall commission that we have established the subcommittee and would be suggesting to move on. We appointed Sarah as the chairman of that. And Sarah, I'm gonna let you take it from here.
I hope all of you had a chance to review some of the documents that we placed in the file for you, particularly the survey that we would like to send out to the town. That is sort of the first step. Within the survey document, we also included some notes about how to best distribute it. And Ty confirmed that the process is something that we can go forward with under the auspices of the town. We had some public correspondence and feedback related to it just by email with some people wondering if we could add definitions to the survey itself. The definition between cannabis and hemp, just to provide clarity with the survey. I don't know if when we're talking about or asking people how educated they feel about the topic, whether that's sort of leading the witness a little bit, I don't know. Or if it's just a sort of an unnecessary step at this time, or necessary, depending on what the commission feels. And then also there was a general comment because we had talked about maximum or minimum acreage in relation to hemp and cannabis growing, whether or not we should not have any specific minimum for either, and allow the businesses to determine their own economic viability of whether or not it would be suitable here in town. So just wanted to open those two items up, if there's any comment or consideration on that from the commission. And then I think the next step for us here is to decide on the survey and to agree to distribute that to the town. Once we have feedback from that. And I think a consideration for us is a timeline for how long we want to do that. And I think that's sort of the main points. Ty, also getting the moratorium in place too, just a quick update on that and where we stand.
Yeah, so that's scheduled for next month. You know, due to the statutory timelines for noticing, we couldn't have that on this agenda, but it's all set up for next month. We have already received back our referrals from the COGS. I mean, everything's falling into place. It'll be on the agenda for the next regular meeting.
And would it be too soon now to set a date for a public hearing once we have the survey data back and we have a chance to sort of have a draft of the regulation? Should we sort of look at our schedules and carve that time out already?
Yeah, I mean, whatever you'd like to do. If you feel confident that you could have it done by a certain date, usually I need about 2 months to make sure that all the noticing is in place. So, yeah, absolutely. Whenever you want to pick a date, well, that'll be fine.
Well, we could agree to that date in the November meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would propose maybe that we leave the survey out there until I can't remember what it says in the document, but at least 2 months to the end of the year, probably.
Yeah.
And happy to entertain any comments, questions, feedback from all of you on the survey questions themselves, whether we need to improve it, add or subtract items to it, change the language.
What was the time frame on the moratorium we put on allowing people to put in applications for cannabis stores or agriculture?
It'll be 6 months.
6 months, okay.
And that we can implement next hearing.
That's right.
All right, well, Sarah's done a fabulous job here. I think it's a good start to something that needs some attention.
Yeah, I think it's pretty well covered. I think we did a pretty good job. Sarah did an excellent job, but I think we did a pretty good job at the last meeting. Just going over the questions and checking things over. I think it's pretty ready to be sent out. I don't think that we really need to add anything more to it.
Yeah, I would maybe add that it would be useful, I think, for us to, in the process, consider once we get the survey feedback in, I'm going to guess that there are going to be people who are going to call for more educational opportunities around this. So I think maybe we want to just think about a timeline before the public hearing that allows for maybe 1 or 2 educational events at the Memorial Library or the town hall leading up to this too, so that we've got people in town who feel very confident about what we're deliberating on and what we're going to be regulating on.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, definitely, probably at least 2. That gives people a chance to, if they miss the first one or, they get a chance to do sit down and get some information.
Yeah, and as we discussed in the meeting, it's nuanced and complicated because we are talking about agriculture, we're talking about medicine, we're talking about social equity programs. There's a lot that kind of goes around the space, and then we're also talking about both cannabis and hemp from a retail and an agricultural perspective and a producer perspective.
Right.
Do you
Well,
think there's, excuse me, Wes?
No, go ahead.
Thank you. Do you think there's any benefit to having the educational events before we distribute the survey?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think with the survey, we'll find out what people don't know, and that will sort of inform who we bring into town to help with the engagement process around that.
But if you I mean, is that sort of like giving students a test before you tell them what the
No, well,
information is?
an option is that after sort of the, well, I was gonna say we could do 2 surveys, but that might be an overlift. I think, first of all, we really need to get a heat map from everybody in town about how they feel about this. I really think that that's kind of the first step in it, because we do want to get a gut check on the first reaction. And I also think maybe to a certain extent, we might be underestimating too what people in town know or already feel about this, given that the state of Connecticut has already gone through this process for a considerable amount of time.
Not 100% with you on that, but I'll go with the majority. I think that there would be a big benefit to explaining to the townspeople
Differences.
what this is all about.
Would you then prefer sort of an educational forum and then the launch of the survey, and we can use that educational forum to also launch the survey?
Yeah.
I think that's a good springboard for the survey.
I like that idea.
Yeah, I think it's a good approach.
Okay, then I guess, Ty, we would want to see if we can get a date, with town hall, I guess would be the best place for that. And then think about who we would want to bring in, during the next commission meeting that might, or the subcommittee meeting, that might be the focus of that is aligning speakers.
Do you have any people, Sarah, in mind?
I would certainly think that we would want to bring in the and maybe we do this as a Zoom thing, because there are some people who are outside the state who would be useful to attend this, who are some of the regulators who have dealt with it. We would certainly want to invite the Connecticut state regulators. There is an medical cannabis ombuds person for the state of Connecticut. And I can think of people within the agricultural world. I'm not intimately familiar with folks here in Connecticut because we're not really a hemp growing area necessarily. But certainly there are some people in Vermont and Massachusetts and New York who would want to potentially come in and talk. And then we would certainly, I think, maybe want to invite 1 or 2 of the commissioners or regulators from some of the towns here who we've identified as best practices too, who could talk about the issue. So I guess the answer to that, Chris, is I've got some ideas.
Sounds like you've got some ideas.
But also happy to entertain more. And I think as word gets around town, you might get feedback from people too about who they might like to have here. And we could certainly also get a regulatory scientist too, who could talk a little bit more about how this is viewed by the federal government in terms of the space with the FDA and either TTB, which has replaced ATF, and DEA too, to talk about federal implications if we needed to.
So how would you advertise this? Town website and one.
Yeah,
Town website, flyers. Yep.
Flyers too, yeah.
We do an email blast
Mhm.
through the clerk's office.
Yeah.
Social media.
Smoke signals.
Smoke signals.
Let's go on, Larry. All right, so we don't need to wait for the next meeting. We can, I suppose, Sarah, will have another subcommittee meeting and try to put this together.
Yeah, I think Ty, if you're part of that meeting, maybe we choose the date and the speakers at that stage too. I don't know if the commission is okay with us as a subcommittee, choosing the dates and the speakers at that time. If you're comfortable with that, then we could move ahead with getting that on the books and understanding that we want to stay within our timeline to a certain extent. And also that the holidays are coming up too, where everything gets crazy.
Yeah. We need a
We would,
motion.
I think, make sure also that with all, because we have 3 private schools in town, that we would want to make sure that whenever we hold that forum, it is when they're in session or in school, so that we can get the faculty and staff involved there.
Right. We need a motion from the full commission on that time.
I don't think you need a motion. No, I
Okay.
mean, but you can if you want, but.
No. All right, so Sarah and the rest of the subcommittee members, we can get amongst ourselves and establish a date
And
to meet next.
So your meetings are set up, the Thursday before the normal regular meeting, so it kind of falls in line nicely so that you could report back to the rest of the commission the following week.
What I will try to do is get a list of potential speakers together with their bios and background, and circulate that to Ty, who we can send this to the entire commission, specifically for the subcommittee to deliberate on, but so there's visibility for everybody.
All right, perfect. Everybody good with that?
And because this is an open forum and people can watch this and it's part of the public record, if there are people in the town who are seeing this later on who have ideas for speakers, please let Ty know, and Ty, you can alert me.
What kind of feedback do you think we're going to get from the substance abuse hospitals in the area?
I think that it can be mixed, right? Because there's part of the world that thinks that the use of cannabis can help with other substance abuse, and can help mitigate it. So there's sort of I think what I've heard from the regulatory scientists on this is that we really always do need to follow the science, and that comes specifically from regulators at FDA. And even how they're kind of wrestling and trying to tackle this. So I think we want to understand this, because there's Delta 8, there's Delta 9, there is cannabis on the market that is not what you would find naturally in the plant anymore, that is what could be considered more highly addictive. So we really want to take into consideration the traditional plant itself and the botany around that, along with ways in which it has been manipulated for retail sale in ways that are could be detrimental to public health. So there's a number of different considerations around that we will want to talk about, because there is now cannabis use, I forget what it's called, addiction, because of the high levels of THC. Yeah, we also have vaping issues now too, because just like with nicotine, you can with a vape pen put a high level dosage in there. Traditionally, if you were smoking a cigarette, for example, you would get 1 cigarette worth of nicotine. Now with a vape pen, you can get like a whole pack in one administration of it. And the same can be true with THC and cannabis too. So there are just considerations of that, but on the flip side, it can also be useful for one's health. Like sort of we discussed in the subcommittee with the 3 uses, the DEA, when they're looking at descheduling it, or not rescheduling it from going a class 1 drug to a Schedule 1 drug to a Schedule 3 drug, identified 3 medical uses that they're seeking more information on. So there is that other consideration too about people who are suffering, for example, who are undergoing chemotherapy treatment and are using medical grade cannabis to help them through the process of chemotherapy. So, and I think we want to be respectful of people in town who feel strongly about medical use cannabis because there is scientific data to suggest that it does have an impact, as does CBD. And there are pharmaceutical drugs on the market that are made with high levels of CBD extraction, like Epidiolex. That was probably a long-winded answer, Anne. I'm sorry.
Well, I think it was just kind of a question I've been thinking about. I it's hard not to inject your personal feelings, but I think as far as harm reduction for people who struggle with other addictions, it's probably helpful.
Yeah. I think there's that component to consider. And then at the same time, where you have new forms of this that could also be leading to new forms of addiction, that's where I think we as regulators and commissioners really sort of need to think about this.
Totally.
And I'm genuinely optimistic, and I think that we will get a lot of good feedback from the people in this town, because I don't underestimate them having that there is a lot of education out there, and there are a lot of good people in this town who want to do the right thing, both to help people and at the same time to make sure that we keep our public health and safety at the forefront of any kind of forward consideration, especially on the retail side of this.
That's very well said, Sarah. All right, so we'll have our subcommittee and meeting, and we'll report back the next regular meeting. Terrific. All right, so let's move on. Other communications and correspondence. I guess it's just administrative permits. I saw them as there's not too many. Yep. All right, well, we've reached that at number 10 slot, which is the end of our work here. Would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn? Now, come on, guys.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Chris.
Second.
All right. All in favor? Great. Thank you all very much. And
Take care. Good seeing you all.
yeah, we'll see you soon.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.